This is NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Whelen, also brought to you by Hercules Tires. Now, with the latest NASCAR local, regional, touring, and international racing news and views, here are Hannah Newhouse and Kyle Rickey.
Welcome to NASCAR Coast to Coast here on the Motor Racing Network. And for all of our friends listening in, you can't hear it, but we are back in the studio. Well, I'm back here in our Concord, North Carolina studio.
Yeah, it looks good. I'm glad to see not much has changed with the set these last 3 months, but it must feel good to be back for you. And hopefully maybe one day soon I can join you in studio for the first time in our 3-year run together here on NASCAR Coast to Coast.
You say that not much has changed here in the studio, but if you look over my shoulder, there is a Dylan Welch helmet. I thought we were recording NASCAR Coast to Coast, not Rip the Fence. Come on, folks.
I was going to say, you've been replaced. Where's the Hannah Newhouse helmet?
I actually don't know where my helmet is. Is that bad? It's somewhere. I know I have it in North Carolina, but I don't know where it's at.
Unless you have a race coming up here in the not-too-distant future, it's not overly concerning.
Yeah, I guess.
But if you're driving this weekend, it would be concerning.
I guess that's the telltale that I'm officially a reporter and no longer a race car driver. Anyway, speaking of race car drivers, the ARCA West made their way over to Irwindale this past weekend for their race. Again, Irwindale, one of my favorite racetracks on the circuit, let alone out in the West Coast. And Jesse Love captured yet another win, that rookie. We were just talking about it, Kyle. He is a very young driver, and to start his rookie season off here in the ARCA West with 2 wins already, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, 2 wins, 2 runner-up finishes, and oh, by the way, he is 15 years old, driving for Bill McAnally Racing, obviously one of the powerhouse teams in the ARCA Menards West Series. So it's not totally unexpected that he's doing well, but I mean, he was able to hold off Trevor Huddleston the other night at Irwindale Speedway in about a 6-lap shootout there at the finish to claim the win. Good run for Gracie Trotter as well. Blaine Perkins, Devin Dobson rounding out the top 5. But yeah, Jesse Love right now, no matter what you put him on, whether it be a road course, like we saw him do so well a couple of weeks ago in Utah, or some of these ovals, like the Las Vegas Bull Ring and like Irwindale this past weekend. So far, so good. Top 2 finishes in the first 4 races of the season.
And we'll talk to Jesse Love a little bit later on here in the show in NASCAR Coast to Coast. But also, Kyle, one of your favorite things to talk about, the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. It has been a season already for them. 2 races now in the books. They went to Jennerstown just a few weeks ago, which was scheduled but originally not scheduled as the opener. And then this past weekend, they found their way up to White Mountain. And it was exciting, to say the least.
It was. Again, this is a new track of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Jennerstown hasn't been on the schedule in more than a decade. So several new facilities, and that's mainly because the home of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour here in Connecticut, still pretty much locked down. The racetracks are open to 25% capacity. We've seen that at Stafford Motor Speedway. However, you need more than 25% of the capacity to host a successful NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour event to be able to make the purse money and all the economics behind the scenes. So instead, they went up to New Hampshire where they're open up a little bit more. And yeah, it was a good race. Matt Hirschman led the first 193 laps until the bump and run came there in the final few circuits. And Justin Bonsignor was able to take down the win after that bump and run, leading the final 7 laps en route to his first win at White Mountain over Matt Hirschman, Doug Coby, Tommy Catalano, Woody Pitkat. No matter where the modifieds go, though, they bring a good field. I believe there were 31 cars in attendance at White Mountain Motorsports Park. So a great race. The fans got to see a great finish. Maybe Matt Hirschman, I don't think, agreed. I think Doug Coby weighed in on social media as well. But, yeah, it was a good race and a sold-out crowd for what the Speedway was allowed to sell for tickets.
Yeah, and if you guys remember, Doug Coby really debuting his own team this year. This is the first time he's really been running his own car. Little bit of a rocky start at Jennerstown, so this 3rd place was a good run for Coby. And again, if you saw it on social media, it was really fun to watch post-race with the quarrel between Hirschman and Coby and Bonsignor. Coby was getting the fans involved. It's just one of those short track things that you love to see because that's 3 of the best in the modified world. And hey, to have them be rivals is always fun to watch.
I love the modified guys on social media, especially Twitter, and it's even better when Ryan Preece jumps in. As you know, I think Doug Kobe's kind of called him the outsider now. It is fun to watch. They are entertaining. We need more of that at all levels of the sport. But yeah, Justin, Doug, Matt, not so much. He's kind of quiet. And then Ryan, when Ryan wants to jump in. So great competition. And the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, their next scheduled event, August 7th at the Stafford Motor Speedway. But again, I think it depends on what's happening here in Connecticut. That'll dictate whether that will happen or not. And then we have the 150 lapper at the Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park on August 19th. And according to the group, the newly formed management group that is running Thompson now, led by former track manager Terry Ames, they plan on running that event. So we'll see. Fingers crossed that Modifieds can get back to one of their home tracks, whether it be Stafford or Thompson next month.
And quickly, too, you mentioned Matt Hirschman being quiet. He is hands down one of the most quiet interviews I've ever done. Yeah. Always very well-spoken, except for when he thinks he won a race at New Smyrna Speedway. Was that earlier this year, Kyle?
Yeah, that was earlier this year.
Yeah.
The photo finish, yeah, that was, I think, night number 3 of modified part of the Speed Weeks.
Hands down, one of the most animated times I've ever seen Hirschman on the front stretch. So it's always fun to see that, like you'd mentioned, that personality come out of, let alone the tour, but the other drivers as well. But when we return here on NASCAR Coast to Coast, we're going to get Jesse Love dialed up to talk about his win this past weekend at Irwindale Speedway.
Whelen designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights, white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and high-powered warning systems for automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Every part of every Whelen product is proudly designed and manufactured in America and is tested on site to meet the toughest industry certifications. On the road, in the air, and around the world, Whelen is trusted to be seen, trusted to be heard, trusted to perform.
Sir, are you aware you were going 40 miles an hour? This is a residential area.
Sure, but I'm on my lawnmower? Wait, am I getting a ticket?
No, I've just never seen anyone top 9 miles an hour on one of those bad boys. And mow their entire lawn in 30 seconds? What got into you?
Well, it did fuel up at Sunoco this morning.
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Power isn't born, it's built over time. For over 65 years, Hercules Tires has been providing the muscle to move more drivers. Whatever the vehicle, whatever the terrain, and we back it with a powerful protection plan. So wherever the road or the trail takes you, we have the selection, value, and strength to get you there. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Back to NASCAR Coast to Coast, brought to you by Whelen and by Hercules Tires. Here are Hannah Newhouse and Kyle Rickey.
And welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast here on the Motor Racing Network. I'm Hannah Newhouse, and we are now joined by Jesse Love, who was the winner this past weekend at Irwindale Speedway in the ARCA Menards Series West. Jesse, first off, thanks for joining us here on NASCAR Coast to Coast.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Now, before we get into it all here, you won this past weekend at Irwindale. You also won last week at Miller Motorsports course, or Utah Motorsports campus out in Utah, 2 in a row. Is this where you guys saw yourself so early? And I say so early in the season, but we're already almost in August. But is this? Have you guys met your expectations for the 2020 season?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it would have been nice to, probably win the other 2 races as well. But overall, it was, a really good showing by us, and we definitely have the ball rolling really well right now. We've been able to close, and that's obviously something that's, really hard to do. Obviously, sometimes you got the speed and just the raw speed, but, making the whole weekend work and actually closing, it can be pretty difficult sometimes. So it was cool to see that we can do that from the get-go and that we can just keep on getting better from here.
Yeah, you are 2 spots from being 4 for 4 right now in the season, with those other 2 finishes being runner-ups. You held off Trevor Huddleston in the final 6 laps the other day in a bit of a shootout after a late race caution flag. Any concerns there, those final few laps of the event?
Oh, it's kind of a hard question to answer, only because, I mean, I know because Trevor's obviously really good there. You know, his home track, he grew up there. So he obviously knows his way around that place. And honestly, one thing is that he's really good at around that place is that he can make speed just happen for like a few quick laps. You know what I mean? He's always, been able to qualify really well there whenever I go there with a tour. Last year, he knows how to make speed really well. He obviously knows how to get by people there. So I wasn't expecting him to get by me on that restart. I kind of saw my tires a little bit, and he kind of got the jump, and then we went into turn one, and he definitely, he sent the thing in there, and he was able to clear up in front of me. So I was able to get a caution. I think we would have got by him anyway the next lap because we just had so much speed, and the car handled so well. But we were able to get a caution, which I wasn't sure if that was going to help me or hurt me because we'd be on the bottom, and I was restarting on the top all day. And it was kind of one of those things where I got one shot at it, right? He had like 10 shots at it from all the restarts. It was a caution-filled race. So I really had like one shot at it to make it work, and I just kind of sent the thing in there. And before I even got to the center of the corner, I was already in the gas, just trying to drive up to the wall. And I wanted to make sure that I wouldn't get too far out in front of him to where he could cross me over, like he did to me in 3 and 4 on the last restart. So I had to kind of back it up a little bit and then make sure that I would kind of meet him in the middle and he wouldn't be able to cross me under.
And Irwindale Speedway provides great racing, whether lap traffic is involved, being such a wide-grooved racetrack. But I want to go back on something you had just mentioned there. Trevor Huddleston, like you said, this is his home track. He is phenomenal there. Track championships, countless wins. Did that make this win a little bit more validated for you, knowing that, realistically, you probably beat one of the best out there on Irwindale Speedway?
Yeah, definitely. He won there last year with the West Tour, or with the West Series, even when Derek was there and all those guys. So it definitely goes to show that he's really fast there and he's really good there. But like I said, Kyle Walesnik gave me a great car. He almost won there with Haley last year, and overall, and they got the pole. So just goes to show how great of a car he makes and he builds, and he knows his way around Irwindale and knows how to set up a car for that place. And he did a really great job the whole weekend, so did my whole team. But, yeah, get back to the question that you asked. It was one of those things where going into this weekend, I knew that Trevor was obviously going to be my hardest guy to hold off. Obviously, I knew Gracie, she was pretty good there during the tests in the 99 car. Blaine Perkins, I figured he would have been a little bit better. But, Trevor did a great job, and he knows his way around that place, and he gave me a run for my money for those last few laps and made for a good show.
Hannah mentioned a moment ago success not only on the ovals but on the road courses as well. You're the 2018 INEX Young Lions Road Course World Champions in the Legends cars. How much do you think that experience has helped you carry over into the stock car stuff here this year especially, and what you did at Utah a week and a half ago, winning and finishing second in that doubleheader?
Yeah, that definitely played a role in it. Just, being comfortable turning right and left. Obviously, you drive the cars completely different. You don't really have to conserve many tires in the Legend cars or the brakes for that matter. The shifts, they're sequential, so you can just bang through them like crazy fast. So with the West car, I feel like that weekend I wasn't sure what to expect, only because obviously Will Roger was there, and everybody knows what he did at Sonoma. Blaine Perkins, who grew up road racing and stuff like that, and just and Trevor Huddleston and Blaine both, I've run those cars on road course, so I wasn't too sure what I was gonna be up against. I knew I would have a lot of speed, but I knew it would be tough to close it out. But we weren't really the fastest car on speed the whole day when I ran the road course. We were like third place on speed. We qualified third. And then throughout the whole race, I was able to make stuff happen on the restarts, and then I kind of have to control the pace of everybody behind me. Because some of them guys, like the 9 car, they were able to make speed happen really well, but they couldn't maintain it for more than 2 laps. So I knew that if I could just get them on the restarts and control the pace, that they would kind of burn their stuff up behind me, and that's what happened. Just had to race it as smart as I could instead of trying to burn the tires off of it and be a hero. Just kind of had to be smart, be smooth, and control the race, and be mature about the whole weekend.
And you say, I like the fact that he says, be mature about the weekend. 15 years old, though, you've got these 2 wins, obviously showing that maturity behind the wheel of a race car. And the ARCA West series right now kind of up in the air with scheduling the remainder of the season. But looking forward, what goals do you have set now for the rest of the season? And if we continue with a somewhat regular schedule, are there any other racetracks that you really have circled to continue this win?
Yeah, obviously Iowa is next. I'm pretty sure Iowa's next. That's obviously a race that I really want to win. It's going to be tough going up against the East Coast cars like Venturini, GMS, and Joe Gibbs and guys like that. But I got a lot of faith in my BMR team and Kyle Lesnick and the whole Napa crew that we can have a really good showing. And I really like our big track package that we have over in the 19 camp. It was really good at Phoenix. We had a lot of speed. And we're just making improvements now on making that big track package better. So I'm actually really stoked, and I'm really looking forward to what we got going into the big track races going up and with the Sioux Chief Showdown. So those are probably the biggest ones I'm looking forward to. But also just the rest of the West season. Obviously, points are really important, but we got a decent cushion now. So right now, it's really just about going in each weekend. You kind of have to race each weekend differently than what you raced the first weekend. And I feel like every weekend's a points race in of itself. You have to treat it completely different than you treated the first weekend and stuff like that. So just kind of have to go about it with, that mindset, and just got to keep on running well and not worry about the points, and they'll take care of themselves.
Whelen designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights, white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and high-powered warning systems for automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Every part of every Whelen product is proudly designed and manufactured in America and is tested on site to meet the toughest industry certifications. On the road, in the air, and around the world, Whelen is trusted to be seen, trusted to be heard, trusted to perform. Citywide to countryside. Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there, no matter where the road takes you. Go to HerculesTire.com. There you can find the nearest authorized Hercules retail location to you. Plus, you can use the tire tracker to find out which Hercules tire fits your vehicle the best. That's HerculesTire.com. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Back to NASCAR Coast to Coast, brought to you by Whelen and by Hercules Tires. Here are Hannah Newhouse and Kyle Rickey.
Each and every week here on NASCAR Coast to Coast, we get the opportunity to spotlight one of NASCAR's short tracks across the country, brought to you by Whelen Engineering. And this week, we are spotlighting Hickory Motor Speedway right outside of the Charlotte, North Carolina area here. It is a small banked asphalt oval, but it opened in 1951 as a half-mile dirt track. And it wasn't until 1967 that they reconfigured it to its current size and paved it. It's often branded as the birthplace of NASCAR stars and the world's most famous short tracks, as a lot of familiar names made their names on that short track. Junior Johnson, Ned Jarrett, Ralph Earnhardt were just a few of the track champions in the 50s. Earnhardt won 5 championships in a row there. NASCAR's first Cup Series race there was at 1953 with Tim Flock winning. And some familiar names of other track champions include Jack Ingram, Harry Gant, Tommy Houston, Josh Berry, and most recently in 2019, Thomas Bean. Both Ralph Earnhardt and John Settlemeyer are tied for the most track championships there with 5 each. Cup Series winners including Lee and Richard Petty both, David Pearson, Joe Weatherly, and the final Cup race was won there by Tiny Lund in 1971.
Whelen designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights, white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and high-powered warning systems for automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Every part of every Whelen product is proudly designed and manufactured in America and is tested on site to meet the toughest industry certifications. On the road, in the air, and around the world, Whelen is trusted to be seen, trusted to be heard, trusted to perform.
Power isn't born, it's built over time. For over 65 years, Hercules Tires has been providing the muscle to move more drivers. Whatever the vehicle, whatever the terrain. And we back it with a powerful protection plan. So wherever the road or the trail takes you, we have the selection, value, and strength to get you there. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Back to NASCAR Coast to Coast, brought to you by Wheelan and by Hercules Tires. Here are Hannah Newhouse and Kyle Rickey.
More racetracks firing up all across the country. It's something we love to see, Kyle. And this past weekend, a lot of people celebrating the 4th of July and doing so in the fashion of doing some short track racing. Meridian Speedway was one of those with their big 4th of July show with their big 5 super late models. Trevor Christiani winning that race over Randy Marshall, and my dad, John Newhouse, coming home in third. They always put on a phenomenal fireworks show. The Tri-Track Modified Series also went to Monadnock with Craig Lutz winning over Les Hinckley and Ben Byrne. Slinger Nationals hosted their prelude, or Slinger Speedway hosted the prelude to their Nationals race where Jacob Knotts did, Ryan Gucek, and Nick Ergen finished those top 3. Derek Kraus, a name that's in the NASCAR Gander Outdoor Truck Series and a super late model racer from that area, has announced that he will be returning to his home track to contend for that Slinger Nationals title. The SRL Super Late Model Series was out at Stockton, California, where Derek Thorne won over Eric Schmidt and Lenny White. And I know, Kyle, you've got some racetracks as well as some ones that were intending to run this weekend, but unfortunately had to postpone.
Yeah, and I think we might start to see some more of that as flare-ups now begin to happen here in the midsummer months from COVID-19. But Grandview Speedway in Pennsylvania, the dirt track, able to run a couple of times this week. In fact, it was fun to watch them on one of the streaming apps this past Wednesday night. Grandview Speedway, Kevin Herthler picked up the modified win. Ben Arnold won in the Sportsman feature, one of the special events out there at Grandview. Colorado National Speedway, super late models, not on track yet because of the NASCAR sanction hasn't kicked in yet in Colorado, but the legend cars were running. Kyle Clegg swept both events. I say that because former NASCAR K&N champion Chris Eggleston had a couple of good runs in those events as well, finishing second in race number 1, make that third in race number 1, and second in race number 2. Tucson Speedway, they were supposed to hold their big 4th of July celebration, but because of the local and state guidelines, they were unable to race this past Saturday. In fact, the track not allowed to open now until August 2nd, when restrictions are once again lifted. Hickory Motor Speedway, they were supposed to run their Nights of Destruction event this past weekend, but again, due to the executive order by Governor Cooper in North Carolina, not able to open. And New Smyrna Speedway, Clyde Hart Memorial was supposed to be run this past weekend, and although they could have held the event, because of the Florida restrictions and folks coming in from outside of the state of Florida and some of the other states that you have to quarantine for 14 days, the track thought it might be best that because of the size of the event to hold back on it, run it next month, I believe on August 27th, as a prelude to the NASCAR Xfinity Series and the Monster Energy, or the NASCAR Cup Series, going to Daytona International Speedway. So the Clyde Hart Memorial now on a Thursday night, August 27th, leading into the race weekend in Daytona. So we continue into the summer months, and I think we all expected tracks to, and every region of the country is going to see a different set of circumstances, and those circumstances are changing by the week. And unfortunately, for some regions, they were unable to run this past weekend, and places like Tucson unable to run for the month of July.
Yeah, and that's what we've talked about, Kyle. We were so excited to get everyone back racing, but we knew this was coming in those fluxes that we talked about. And then to, especially out here in the Southeast and even in the Northeast, to have so many drivers and teams that are racing in different states and in different, series that makes them travel, and you get those different regulations by states, really makes it difficult to be able to travel and race with those restrictions. But again, we're just glad to have some race cars back on track to some extent. Speaking of which, you get to see me this weekend at Kentucky, as we both worked on only the ARCA race, but also the NASCAR Gander Outdoor Truck Series. It's been 4 weeks since I've been to a racetrack, so I'm looking forward to it. I know you got to do the 24 hours of Pocono. Have you recovered from that? And how excited are you to see me in Kentucky?
Yeah, we're good. Pocono was fun. I can't wait to see you, Hannah. I've been, it'll be fun. 2:30 Eastern time on Saturday for our ARCA coverage, which will be fun. Get to cover the likes of Michael Self and Tanner Gray and Haley Deegan on down the line. That'll be a good time. And then the NASCAR Gander Outdoor Truck Series at 5:30 Eastern time. I like these early starts. Usually we go to Kentucky and the green flag flies at like 8:35 Eastern time, and I'm okay with a 5:30 or 6 o'clock green flag. So it'll be fun. A good doubleheader there at Kentucky this weekend.
Yeah, usually those late starts are enjoyable because the temperatures are slightly cooler for us down on pit road. But I will say, by the time we get back and eat dinner and are back at our hotels, it's usually 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we all have these lovely 7:30 a.m. flights the next morning. So you're getting those 3 hours of sleep. And I'm sitting here sounding like I'm complaining, but I do miss it. I do miss the opportunity to be at the racetrack. So I will take a 5:30 start time, let alone getting to do the ARCA race right before then. I promise my voice will sound back to normal. I don't know why I sound scratchy. But no, I'm looking forward to it. And again, everyone can tune in. It's on ARCA. It's on Fox, right? The ARCA race this weekend?
I think so. I don't know. I know we have it at 5:30 Eastern or at 2:30 Eastern.
Tune in on MRN, folks. Awesome. Well, we will look follow. I'm excited to see you, Kyle. Again, everyone, make sure they listen on MRN this weekend to the ARCA race and the NASCAR Gander Outdoor Truck Series. But we will be back next week here on NASCAR Coast to Coast with more short track racing across the country. For Hannah Newhouse and Kyle Rickey, producers Craig Moore, we will see you next week here on NASCAR Coast to Coast.
You've been listening to NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Whelen, also brought to you by Hercules Tires. NASCAR Coast to Coast is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.